Salsa shark. We're gonna need a bigger boat.
Throughout history, they have been a part of our American life. Men and women who have made it their mission to serve their fellow man. They've worked hard enough. Isn't it time they had their own movie? Clerks.
This job would be great if it wasn't for the customers.
I don't bother them and they don't bother me.
I could do without the people in the video store.
Do you have that one with that guy who was in that movie that was out last year?
You should hear the barrage of stupid questions I get.
What do you mean there's no ice? You mean I gotta drink this coffee hot?
You'd feel a hell of a lot better if you just rip into the occasional customer.
You're a clerk, paid to do a job. You can't just do anything you want while you're working.
Hey, you open? No!
What kind of convenience store do you run here?
Miramax Films presents.
You think anybody can see us down here?
Why? Do you want to have sex or something?
Can we?
Clerks. Just because they serve you doesn't mean they like you.
You hate people.
But I love gatherings. Isn't it ironic?
Featuring new music by Soul Asylum, Corrosion of Conformity, Bad Religion, The Jesus Lizard, and music by Alice in Chains.
Damn right.
Just because they serve you doesn't mean they like you. I remember that tagline when the movie, well, I mean, not when it first came out, but like I remember watching it on VHS for the first time, and that was the tagline for it, and I was like, hell yeah.
It's a really good tagline, and it's actually a very accurate tagline.
Yeah.
It's
in the case of Randall.
Yeah. Palpable
he wants the
disdain.
copy.
Mm-hmm.
I like Dante's I don't bother them, they don't bother me, and he's like, you lie. All right, this is Movie Night Extravaganza, episode 100. 1 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 100 emoji. I am here with J. Andrew Snooches, different than Snoogans.
Yes.
World.
Well, snitches is a form of agreement from the View Askew universe, if you don't mind me saying. So, yes, I agree.
Snoogans means he's just kidding. Snooches is what he comes in and says, snooch to the motherfucking nooch. Snoogans is a different, yeah.
Yes, no, exactly.
We are already
two
deep
different
in
terms.
it, 4 minutes in. Wow.
There are two separate terms in the lexicon of the View Askew averse.
Apparently, it's not just the View Askew-averse. These are just things that like Jay would actually, like Jason Mewes would actually just say. Like apparently, they just incorporated the weird shit that he would say into his. Yeah. I'm also here, Conan Neutron, host of Platonic Reversal, Conan Neutron, The Secret Friends, and he has a new offering on Bandcamp, a new music project, Just the Solos by Action Chief, brand new band, brand new EP. Get it right now. Turn this off or open a second browser.
Whoa, sorry.
Or the cops will get you, apparently. Yeah, I mean, it's enforced by law.
Go to actionchief.bandcamp.com right now in a second window or on your phone and order Action Chief, just the solos.
Yes.
Just, nothing but solos. Nothing but solos.
Absolutely. Thank you for that introduction, Forrest. And yeah, I'm glad we're doing this as the 100th episode. I think this is a very interesting film and actually probably a little underrated in the film universe because so much of it is just seeped into popular culture, and movies now are just like naturally kind of like self-aware and like, kind of like jokey and stuff in a way that like is heavily ripped off from it. And all that said, it works as a standalone feature, having nothing to do with any of the rest of the Kevin Smith filmography as well. So I think it's a good one to talk about. And 100 episodes. Not bad.
A lot of episodes.
Not bad. A lot of episodes.
A lot of Amazon movies that I went to buy.
So stoked to talk about this, and it should be good. That's my prediction.
All right. Also joined by Kristina Oakes, Silent Chris. I don't know. Well, I guess Silent Bob, but all right. I looked at that and I automatically thought Chris Kringle, but I don't know why. Silent.
All right.
Well, Chris Kringle, silent but deadly.
Well, I love this film because Kevin Smith is pretty much from the same area of New Jersey that I'm from, in that central Jersey area of like Red Bank and Monmouth County, Freehold, Monmouth County for myself. So I'm like, all his films like hold a special place in my heart.
You call it pork roll, or do you? Is that the part of Jersey that it is?
Pork roll.
All right.
Not Taylor ham, pork roll.
All right, we're on. I guess this is a 100% pork roll podcast. Also joined by John Ross of the John Ross Show. How's it going?
Here comes John. He's a berserker. Na 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 na. I assure you, we're open. There. That's it. That last part in the movie was just something that came up right away. That's my favorite part. Well, my second favorite part.
Yeah. So I have way too many clips that I found this week, but this is one of my favorite movies. Always has been. I think I first watched it. Well, let's start with I guess where everybody first was when they watched this, because I watched this. I think I was either 10 or 11. I was with my best friend Maddie, like my childhood best friend, and we would run around and we would yell 37 at each other all the fucking time because
in a row.
and we were definitely like way too young. Like if like older like adults had heard us be like, "You suck 37 dicks," they'd be like, "What are these children doing? Like, what are these children talking about?
Who's bringing these children up that they would behave in this manner?"
Well, if they start smoking at 4, that's what happens later.
Mm.
Outside of the convenience store.
So I guess I'll start with that. I saw this in my senior year of high school when it came out, and even though I grew up in a town called Modesto, which is more in common with Kansas than the rest of California as far as culturally, I was very excited for a movie that had a Jesus Lizard song in it, as well as other things. And by the way, the soundtrack of this is pretty fantastic. And saw it without knowing anything about it, other than the fact that it was a customer service shop. I remember right. It must have been in '95 that I saw it, because I was just had started working my first and only retail job at Tower Records. Only retail job I ever worked. And let's just go ahead and charitably say I was not suited to it. Shocking. Exactly nobody.
Yeah, there's a lot of crazy songs on this, but yeah, I like the Chewbacca Supernova one. It's like
Chewbacca.
What a Wookiee.
I mentioned it earlier in the group chat, but the Supernova, some of those Supernova guys and some of the Man or Astroman guys, including Brian Teasley, former guest of the show, were Servotron, which was a different band that was robot themed. Is probably the best way I can put it. But yeah, those guys and some of the guys from Man or
talked about that when he was actually on too.
He might have. Yeah. Servotron's very interesting.
Trying to describe
they have their. Yeah, he tried to do it, and it was the kind of thing where you started describing it, immediately knew it was a mistake, and kind of like made a joke about it as he was doing it, because it was like it's a lot of information to like that kind of pack in.
Yes.
But yeah, they're basically just like a Man Rashman's whole deal is like, oh, they're a surf band from space. Servertron was like their killer robots of some sort. But they had interesting band. But it's Supernova guys as well. Although that was like far and away. Like I saw Supernova with the Buzzcocks actually, and it was a good show. Thank you.
And the cops are apparently going to see it right now.
I was gonna say apparently the cops showed up. Who knew?
Okay, we gotta be careful here.
All right.
Right,
Who's smoking right now? Why are the cops?
Oh man, geez.
So when I went off to college for freshman orientation, they showed Clerks Saturday night, and instead of going to see some movie I'd never heard of before, I decided to get really wasted on caffeine and watch Cartoon Network.
Wasted on caffeine.
Watch Cartoon Network like all night long without sleeping.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I was sitting there like, still vibrating after, all that Mountain Dew I drank. Running in and out of the bathroom, watching like Fantastic Four at 6 a.m. So,
which is different from your regular life. How?
Less vibrating, more sleep.
Okay, there you go. All right, just checking.
But Kristina,
yeah. Well, the first Kevin Smith film I ever remember watching was Jersey Girl, and I was like,
Woof.
okay, I know. I was like
All right.
10 years old,
Good
so I was
reaction.
like, I need to find more Kevin Smith films because I was familiar with the Jay and Silent Bob characters growing up.
I like Jersey Girl. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and actually say that.
It could have been better. It could have been better, but
I'm not saying it wasn't like it's like I'm not going to pretend it's his best film or anything like that. But like,
no,
I thought it was a sweet film. I think it succeeded what he was trying to
George
do.
Carlin in it.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I think I
Hell
might
yeah.
have appreciated it more if it wasn't Kevin Smith doing Jersey Girl for the reason that like I was expecting just like a Jay and Silent Bob showing out or something, and like I was excited to see it, and then I was like, oh, this
it was
is
him
just
trying to do something different, and I appreciate that, and I think he succeeded at what he was set out to do, but I don't think it was a great movie. Like it's not a classic movie or anything. It's just it's fine.
And it's
But,
like
like,
separate
I
from
don't-
like the rest of Kevin Smith lore.
It's like separated from the rest of the Viewisk universe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he
And
has
also
his own
from everything
universe.
else George Carlin's really done, right?
Come on,
Like, it's
J-Lo
kind of
dies
a-
in the first couple minutes of it, so like come on,
Right.
how bad can it be?
But it's like a straightforward it's a straightforward rom-com or family comedy, I guess. And that's different from anything. I can't imagine like George Carlin being sincere like that and anything else that
When are you gonna take her to see the cats?
It's like
better
his
George
last-
Carlin scene is the in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, where he's sitting in the front seat teaching them the rules of the road.
Yeah. It actually gets into that in that Carlin documentary, that 2-part one. That's really good. I highly recommend it if you have any interest whatsoever in the man and his actual work, not necessarily just the stuff that was propagated into society, which is still interesting and worthy, especially since a lot of espoused critical thinking. But it's a really good doc too. It's well worth watching. It's one of those things you're like 4 hours, huh? But then you're like, oh yeah, this dude did
37
in a row. 4 hours in a row. Yeah.
George Carlin sucked that many dicks when he was learning teaching them the rules of the road.
Man, the 60s were a wild time.
Yeah.
It'll
As
get
we
you
keep getting
anywhere.
reminded of all the time.
You keep getting reminded of it. I live, like 15 minutes from Woodstock, 30 minutes from Woodstock. Like,
Hey man,
I'm
I used to,
reminded of
when I worked at that Tower Records, it was the Tower Records in Berkeley. So
all right, that's the only.
I feel the pain. It was harsh choke, man.
Yeah, Harsh
I
Choke
choose
is like the name of probably like 6 different restaurants in Berkeley.
Yeah, I was gonna say I chose my words carefully when I said that. So,
but yeah, Kristina. All right, so when did you see Clerks?
I saw Clerks probably when I was in middle school. Because I didn't go like in order of like the Kevin Smith films because I was like I want to watch like anything with Jay and Silent Bob. I didn't find out they were in Clerks until like after I saw, but I was like, I actually enjoy Clerks and learning more about like Kevin Smith and how he's from like Central Jersey, and they even filmed Clerks 3 in Middletown, which is where my sister lives. So she was like, hell yeah, and I'm like, name one Kevin Smith film that is in Clerks 3.
Clerks 2.
Clerks 2.
Yeah.
Anne Frank, Helen Keller, white privilege. What else? What else do you need?
Wanda Sykes.
Yeah, I don't want to make it a whole thing. Arguably, I understand it's his world and he has the wherewithal and the freedom to go back to the characters and tell more stories. But I think of Clerks as its own thing. The expanded universe, I've seen like some of the comic books cartoons are pretty good, but like, yeah, there's no need for other movies. In fact, he's making a third one is like, okay, fine. Like I'm sure
he's making
the third one actually looks good though. Like
the trailer for the third
second
one?
I saw the second one. Yeah,
have you seen the trailer? Have you seen the trailer for the third one yet?
Not yet. No.
He essentially turned Randall into himself, and Randall suffers a heart attack in the trailer, like heart issues, and then decides to make a movie. So it's essentially
okay. That's cool.
Yeah, so he's like projecting his own experience and like grappling with his own mortality. I don't know if it's gonna,
he's
like I don't
making
know if
Clerks too. Like he's making the first Clerks movie, and not only that, they're doing the scene where where Dante gets shot. And Dante's still like, I don't think he should get shot at the end.
Dante's Inferno.
That's funny.
Like,
well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it'll be good. Like, I don't remember. Like, I didn't like dislike Clerks 2. I just didn't think too hard about it, frankly.
Yeah.
Like, and it just for me, it never seemed like a movie that needed a sequel. It seemed like it was perfect exactly as it is.
It's like it's quotable, like if you're like a teenager or something and you watch it though, and
if you're a teenager in 2006,
edgy things to say that you could just kind of like snigger at or whatever, and like
a lot of things that I think he certainly gets grief for, but does not give credit for, is just the intelligence of the dialogue. And by intelligence, I also mean the intelligence of just like the vulgarity of it, like vulgarity intelligence. Like just like even when it's vulgar, it's like, oh, that's pretty good. And it's like now then a bunch of people ripped that off, and that became like just a quote unquote a thing. And it's like, no, that's you're doing the Kevin Smith thing is what you're doing.
Yeah, and you never admit that, but that's what you're doing
because he never gets credit for it. Yeah,
I mean,
and it's
one line that stands out to me in Clerks specifically is when he goes, "I was making a broad generalization," and she says, "You were making a generalization about broads." That's
fantastic, right?
Yeah.
No, yeah. I think the other thing too was like the nerd levels too, because like in the late 90s, I remember, being in my early 20s, and this was like everybody kind of related to it because like we were all nerds. We were just like
there was nothing like that. Yeah, there was nothing like that on.
And there was no Marvel movies either.
TV show. Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah. That's the thing that's hard to understand, especially for people that just constantly rail against these, like, now all-encompassing cultural phenomenon. There was nothing of that sort around.
Yeah,
nothing. The idea that we could get a Spider-Man movie someday, a single Spider-Man movie, perhaps we could get that.
With 40,
I don't know, maybe not.
With 40-year-olds going to high school.
Leonardo DiCaprio as Spider-Man. That was.
And Tobey Maguire would have still been too old for high school at that point, right?
Yeah. but and what we were getting was like Batman and Robin and Steel, which was coming out right around the same time Kevin Smith was kind of taking off.
Yeah, somehow Batman was the one franchise.
Quite hard. Bat nipples.
Yeah, Tim Burton's Batman came out in 89.
Yeah,
89 and
the one that Kristina's talking about, the Schumacher one's kind of tough.
I think it's 90. I think it was 93 or something.
94 was when Batman Forever came out.
No, 95. 95.
And then like 97, I think it was when Batman and Robin came
version,
out. So.
Yeah.
I think
the Tim Burton ones are good. I
agree.
I think it's also like Tim Burton ones.
Also, check out the comics, the Batman 89 comics that are out now.
What a Wookiee! I think we're kind of having a backlash right now, and it kind of sucks. You and I were talking about this last night, Conan, and like text, but like there's kind of like a backlash to this kind of like superhero, well, not just superhero movies, but also like superhero or comic book nerds making movies about superheroes, right? Like there's a kind of an irony poisoned like backlash to it.
Taika Waititi's catching shit. And it's like, have you ever seen like Hunt for the Wilder People or like Boy? Like
really? So Waititi cut. Okay, sorry. Well, even he doesn't want to release his own cut.
But like the thing is, like, just people are just preemptively getting mad at him because like he
doesn't give a fuck
involved in this in intellectual property. He doesn't give a fuck. But the problem is that it's like the level of quote unquote discourse about it is just it's ridiculous. It's just nerds getting mad at
fanboys.
is nerds getting mad at a different type of nerd stuff.
But, like,
Yeah.
spoiled
Hey,
nerds.
you stole my
Like-
my premise for this
Yeah.
when I was talking about it last night, and I said like if you look at something like Chapo Trap House that rails against these movies a lot, like it's a different
and
kind
elevates
of nerd.
Avatar, which is a piece of shit. Just to be clear,
It's a
So-
different kind of
Terrible
film
movie.
nerd.
Titanic is the superior James Cameron. Okay, sorry.
No, but it's a different kind of.
That goes for Hit Factory too.
He could have.
Avatar blows.
He could have gotten off of that. He could have. They could have both been on that door. Never mind.
Yeah. Well, but yeah, the thing is, like, it's become like a replacement for a personality for a lot of people. It's just the thing to do is to yell about the fact these movies exist. Which I'm like, I'm sorry, I grew up when like all these action movies were pervasive, where it's like there's like the thinnest gruel of a plot.
World.
And then, like, but it was fine. People went and saw them, and even when they were terrible, and were there good ones? Yes, there were terrible ones as well. But there wasn't this level of everybody having a platform and an opinion that they feel is like unique. And well, I'm a rebel, and I'm going to tell you that I don't think you're not a rebel. Shut up. Take a seat. Nobody wants to hear from you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's like
Let
people
people
get mad when
enjoy
there
what
are
they
like
like,
minority
too.
characters in Star Wars, and I'm like, there are actual animal,
mean-
living human being hybrids and things that don't even look human or animal in Star Wars. Why you think-
And anti-Semitic fairy creatures.
There sure are. Yeah, that's like which we can charitably say was just like myopically, accidentally cultural insensitive. But I don't know.
Somebody called Jar Jar the other day like a Sambo stereotype. I was like, holy shit! I've been looking for the racial stereotype to like describe what Jar Jar Binks is, and like, yeah, that's the one.
You haven't heard that before?
But then also
not levied towards Jar Jar specifically.
But the actor who portrayed the character in question was like bullied to the
Ahmed
point
Best.
where he was somebody will get a sentence out and not be interrupted immediately. Where he was like contemplating suicide. Like seriously contemplating suicide because everyone's like the worst character that ever existed, blah blah. You know, it was like I don't disagree, but you don't need to tell the guy who acted it.
No, and he is.
Jar Jar,
you know,
get out of here, you fucking
Michael
follow
Jackson
him
had
on
played the
Twitter.
role, things would have
He
been
is one of
different.
the sweetest people you'll ever see on Twitter. He never says a bad thing about anybody.
Yeah.
And he's just an absolute wonderful human being. So follow Ahmed Best on Twitter.
And also, let's not forget that, like, originally that incredibly that of the new trilogy of movies, they took the most cowardly approach possible, and they basically wrote down the characters that were the one that had like actual natural arcs in favor of just giving the quote unquote fans what they quote unquote wanted, and that's the worst kind of filmmaking that you can do.
And also too, let's not forget with the writing for like Anakin Skywalker was horrible, and it made people hate Hayden Christensen. But now everyone loves him because of Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I mean, there's no
also-
canoes in Obi-Wan Kenobi, so that's
Also,
show looks
too, like
terrible.
the kids
I
who
refuse
watched
to
it
watch
are
it.
now grown up. Like, let's be honest, the
I
kids who
watched
watched it grew up and they appreciate, you know, like what he did. You know, it's like that nostalgia thing.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
I mean, I gotta say,
I'm a big I'm always Conan Neutron and everything because I am Conan Neutron. But if I was to make it like a Twitter handle or something, Jar Jar OnlyFans would be a chef's
We're
kiss.
about to get topless.
Jar Jar OnlyFans, that's so good.
We're about to hand brain.
All right, that is straight after party stuff right there. John, what were you saying?
you know, I was gonna first actually tell the story of how I first saw Clerks.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's what ostensibly what you're supposed to be doing, right? Yeah.
But then you guys went on a Star Wars, I guess the episode.
Which did you like better?
I gotta say, and I'm totally biased, and I'm probably gonna be like canceled for this, but I actually do like the Phantom Menace, the one with Hayden Christensen that Kristina was talking about.
But only from racial stereotypes.
Wait. Hey, Christensen
No,
was not
no.
in the Phantom Menace.
Canceled.
That
No,
was
that's,
Jake Lloyd. That was
yeah,
Jake
thank you.
Lloyd. Excuse me.
Jake. Oh well, Hayden Christensen was in. It's been a long time. You know?
Is the part you liked best
That
about it
one.
how they kept telling you what you should feel rather than showing to you on the screen? Or do you like the fact that they killed off one of the coolest looking bad guys in history in like 5 minutes after like building him up for like 6 months?
Plus, with the best lightsaber.
Although he wasn't actually dead and blah blah blah. et
And
cetera,
then
et cetera.
and then they regretted it and kept trying to bring him back.
Well, and they brought him back and it was actually better, but that's whatever.
And that fight
Well,
sequence, though, it's just
I was also gonna say this is totally like bringing up the subject of Hayden Christensen. I saw him in a movie once. It's on YouTube and it's called Shattered Glass, and it's like really good. But bringing it back to Clerks, the first time I saw the film was actually like 20 years ago. I saw Strike Back, and I was hooked. Like that film for me was like, this
Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Yeah, Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, and it was like.
I was like, Strike Back? What movie is that?
Yeah.
I was thinking about this show called Fight Back. There was like a consumer protection TV show where like people would, these guys ripped me off. They posted these prices and they didn't. I was like, Fight Back, Strike Back. Anyway,
Speaking of like Star Wars, like being ripped off by Star Wars, yeah. The Empire Strikes Back, Strike Back, yeah, Jay and Silent Bob. But that was the first Kevin Smith movie I had seen, and then I was hooked immediately. And then I actually saw the first film like 3 years ago, because I bought a $6 copy at the dollar store across the street from my apartment.
That sounds like a shitty dollar store. $6 copy at a dollar store.
Yeah,
that's like going to the dollar section at Target and seeing stuff for $5. What the hell, Target?
Yeah. Well,
put you on blast.
It was cheap ass, but it was worth it because I got the DVD, took it home. I watched it,
and it was the like, Chinese. It was the Chinese version of Clerks where they remade it.
No, it was not Chinese. It was. Oh, you mean like it was made in China? Yeah, but anyway,
what are you doing getting DVDs? I recorded it off of IFC onto VHS like a normal person.
I am so old school, Andy. I tell you, I'm so old school for DVDs. I have like a collection.
He stole a projector. He actually showed it on his own wall. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So I bought the movie, watched it, I was hooked, and I saw Dogma and then Chasing Amy, which was my like third favorite film, but you know, I've been hooked ever since. Like I'm become a huge Kevin Smith fan, and I still defend him from all the pop culture haters.
I want to get us back on topic, but first I got to ask.
Yeah.
Zach and Miri? Anybody?
Yeah, that's
yeah.
I liked it. I thought it was fun.
I loved it. Oh my god!
I love the Justin Long cameo where he's
when they're filming the coffee shop and they're like getting like it's like as if they're all getting turned on by like Jason Mewes screwing that one porn star, and there's this guy's like in the background behind him. He's like, "You guys are open."
It's like him adulterating his own story, as he said.
Yeah,
it's like Clerks with porn, essentially.
Absolutely. One time I recorded it, DVR'd it, and my Uma was like, "Kristina, you've recorded a porn." I was like, "It's an actual film, Uma.
It's a film about people making a porn. There's a difference."
Yeah.
Who's this Zach and this Miri? Why are they making so much porn?
It's like a movie within a movie kind of thing.
I have this clip that I found that I've never seen. It's Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes when they're doing. I think they had a podcast or something where he was trying to help Jason Mewes get sober, and they were doing a bunch of promo for stuff. And so this is Kevin Smith talking about the wild like stories about meeting Jason Mewes and all of like the crazy shit that he was doing and why he ended up just like writing a character that was Jason Mewes, but like you know, as a
more developmentally disabled.
Yeah, he looks rough right there.
It's hard living.
Really good friends, and I think he's the most like original human being I've ever met. Like hands down, an American original. Through most of our lives before I made the movie, I would always be like, man, you're funny, but I wonder if anyone would find you funny outside of like New Jersey. Somebody should put you in a movie one day and find out if like you're funny to people like in Chicago or something like that. And then years later, when I was like, oh, I want to make a movie, one of the first things I thought is like, I'm putting Jason Mewes in the movie because he's like the funniest person I know, the most original person I know. I want to see if anyone else thinks that Snugan stuff works. So I'm going to stick him outside the convenience store, like as one of the dealers. I worked at Quick Stop, and you always had teenage weed dealers hanging outside the building and stuff. And never one of them. There's always like a group or at least two. One guy dealing, one guy's his muscle and stuff. And then I didn't want to give him somebody to talk to because I wanted to showcase all the stuff he says. I'm like, he's way more interesting when you just let him go. So I was like, I'm going to stick somebody next to him, a character who's his muscle, but don't say anything. Like there's a character in this movie I loved called My Favorite Year, Herb, one of the writers. I couldn't name his character anything but Jay. Like it never occurred to me to give him a fictional name like Dirty Harry or whatever. It's just like he was Jay and Jay was Jay. So it became Jay and Silent Bob.
Snoochie Boochie Noochies. honestly, it started off as nah. Nah just started off as meaning just kidding, because at 13, 14, I was always kidding with my friends and or people, and I wanted to make sure they knew I was joking around with
So
stuff.
he didn't get hit. It began as nah, and it was almost like this weird nervous tick. The kid was always going nah, 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 nah,
Totally.
nah, nah. And then it grew. He started finessing it. So he'd be like nooch, and then like nooch. And the same thing. I slept with your mom. Nooch. You know, he got threw a Dutch on it. And then it would grow where he'd be like, I slept with your mom last night. Snoochy boochies, you know, and stuff like that. And it was amazing. I watched language grow.
Like I would do stuff almost for my own entertainment. Like it's almost like a nervous tick, like you said. Like I would do things, but I would say it to entertain myself. His good explanation is the story in the library when I busted in the library, we kicked in the door, and I didn't look at you guys, and I was doing stuff. So
now you got to finish the story, man.
So he tells a good story about he remembers, and I remember sort of this.
He walked in. Me and Walt were at the rec, and we were bagging and boarding our comic books. And all of a sudden, it was quiet. No kids were there. It was before the kids came from at 3:00. All of a sudden, the door, boom, gets kicked open, and Jason Mewes marches in and proceeds to fillet anything somewhat phallic in the room. So he grabs the pool stick and he's sucking it off. He grabs the phone and he's sucking it off. The flagpole, sucking the eagle off. And me and Walter watched him go from item to item, and he never looked at us. It was never like, look at this, right? It was almost as if like he was walking around town going, oh, it's 2:00. I better go to the rec and suck everything off. And so we sat there and watched him. And then he reached the asteroids machine. An asteroids kiosk, for those that don't remember, has no joystick. There was nothing phallic for him to work. And we were like, what's going to happen here? As he stood there frozen. And then he shrugged and went la, 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 on the rollerball and stuff, on the buttons. So I was like, man, I want to hang out with this kid. He's a genius and he's very orally fixated. So that's the kind of guy for me. That's when I knew, like, you know, somebody should see this besides us. He would work for an audience of 2 or none. And like, it was like throwing away gold, where I'm like, this is legit funny. So years later, after like hanging out with her a couple of years, when I was like, I'm going to be a filmmaker, I just remembered all the hits, you know, the greatest hits. And I was like, I'm going to have him do this. I'm going to have him do this. And just to have him be an energy and as a player in the movie was something that I felt like, yeah, it might work. I just want to see if anyone finds it funny. And when it came out, nobody talked about us. Nobody was ever like, Jay and Silent Bob. There's one review that mentioned Jay specifically. They would mention me a lot because they were like in parentheses, and the director also plays a character named Silent Bob. But they never talked about Jay and Silent Bob. And then there was a review by, I think it was Leah Rosen in People Magazine. And she said, Jason Mewes, you want to find the rock he crawled out from under and make sure there's nothing else like it under that. And she said, we never do. He's like, is this good? I was like, that's a rave, man. Like, that's huge.
That's great. They're also a Greek chorus too, which is amazing. Like,
you know what's so interesting is the fact that they basically play each other's characters. Like Kevin Smith is the one who talks,
the talkative one, and Jason
is like always so quiet.
They're
so
they're like so opposite of one another. But
also,
that kind of works.
The inside joke is that Harley Quinn is actually the daughter of Jason, because if you remember the reboot of Jay and Silent Bob, where they kind of made fun of like reboots and stuff like that. He has a daughter, and he's like, I think I'm gonna need a blood test or something like that, because she kind of does look like him physically, like same like similar facial features, but she looks like her mother.
And he put his daughter also in like Tusk, I think, briefly, and
Yoga Hosers.
Yeah.
With Johnny Depp's youngest daughter.
Yeah.
Daughter, Lily Rose.
Impressed. Kristina turned it around to Harley Quinn. Well done.
Well, hey, he named his daughter after her.
I know.
Which is perfect. This is awesome.
Well, and it's I think it's actually very fitting that in this episode, ostensibly about Clerks, we got into a Star Wars discussion. I mean, like, it's sort of like that's the vibes, right? The vibes are that it goes off in these wild and passionate directions.
And it was also the fact that this was before the Marvel universe, before the DC extended universe. There was the US universe. And what a lot of people have been saying to Kevin for years was, oh, you took from them. And he's been like, no, I took from them. Because the comic books would have that interconnected universe. Right. Like Spider-Man, X-Men, like all the comics would have like
back
these characters.
In the 60s.
exactly.
Yeah,
They
no,
would
no,
have
yeah. Back in the '60s, they'd have just an issue where like Spider-Man just swinging through town, and like Thor would swing by, and then you have to stop because he almost hit Submariner, and you have to stop because he almost hit so and so, and
It was crazy
like
back in the 60s. There are superheroes everywhere.
you know that was
Especially in
like,
New York.
you know, a stupid issue, but like, you know, that was how the comics were.
Mhm. Yeah.
But yeah, I think the Jason Mewes story is really funny, and just like
Yeah.
imagining him as this is kind of like hyperactive, like slightly mentally ill kid shit, like right, like you run in, you start like filleting shit, and like I don't know, like trying to get people to laugh, and like
there's like a funny story kind of going before that where like when it was Kevin, Brian Johnson, and Walt Flanagan, when they were all like younger, Mewes would go with all the three of them when they would go out and like go to arcade, go to the movie theater, etc. And like he would do his thing, Mewes, and Brian Walt would just be laughing, and Kevin would be like this in the back seat with his arms going, he ain't no fucking funny, and he would just do his thing like the knee and the snoochie booches and everything. And soon after, I guess, as Kevin said in that thing, in that clip, like he inherited Mewes. It was after the famous. It was at a rec center in New Jersey where he did the filleting of all the objects, and that's when he realized, hey, Jay, this guy's a comic genius, man.
And putting him in the movie is great. And I love the quote that's just like where he's like, I want to see if anyone finds this funny outside of New Jersey. Like, take this to a different city. Would it still be funny? Which
I
it
wonder
did.
if Dr. Oz finds this to be funny.
But yeah, like I like grew up, I mean, you know, in New York, but like we're like pretty close to New Jersey, and sadly I can smell it from here, but no, like there's a lot of like people that just kind of hang out in town and like hang out in front of places, and like there's like still is like it's not like it used to be, but like people would hang out outside of restaurants or like whatever, like the gas station downtown, like mobile, like there was always, I mean, we don't have a 7-Eleven here, but like yeah, like
yeah, you got the Stewarts.
Yeah, we got Stewarts. We got Stewarts.
Yes.
Well, so the thing to remember too is that like I'm not from the East Coast. Like at the point in time this movie came out, I never even been to the East Coast. But like it's a universal truth that there's a weird power dynamic with any kind of like small scale retail experience. And this came at a time when there really wasn't a lot of that. And because of that, like this and like Office Space kind of goes hand in hand with this as well. Like a lot of the reason why I connect with people is, I mean, anyone's had a crappy retail job, whether or not they're like, oh, Dante, you know, is right for basically being the author of all his own problems and complaining about it all the time, or like whatever. They know the misery of you know, like Star Trek, like hell as other people, right?
Zombies.
Doubly so with customers.
Yeah.
And it's completely, and that's one of the reasons why it like resonated with so many people. And the folks that don't, it's like portrayed in a funny, interesting manner.
And the service industry, like retail or, you know, restaurants or really anything, right? Like any kind of service that you're kind of being provided in a store or in a gas station or in really anywhere with you know, there's that thing where like you can tell people kind of hate you when you go in there as a customer and you have to like ask some questions or something, like, and there's like a whole like fake nice or like fake friendly thing that like, you know, people have to do in those situations. But like you can tell that like if you ask them a stupid question in their brain, they're like, no, this is a stupid question, this person's a fucking moron. But like customers always right mentality.
But usually they say it in nicer ways than Randall does.
Yeah, well, so to have a character that does not give a fuck about that, right? That's like able to get away with that shit is almost like it's like you're projecting your own desire about like what you wish you could say to that fucking customer onto this character. And like there is a lot of times a person like that at some stores, but like, you know, that's like a wise ass. But like the fact that he kind of takes it so far that you're like, this guy would not be working at this video store anymore. This guy would have gotten fired from this video
like
store.
and the whole like, I don't appreciate your ruse, ma'am, where he just doesn't like look up and like she's
he
trying
just
to
is like reading the paper.
It's so, I mean, the commitment to it is so steadfast, and like that's what makes it so deeply hilarious. I mean, the Randall bits are just hilarious, like drop dead like hilarious. And one of the reasons why is is like pure id, right? Hey Michael, how you doing, man?
My mom has experience working at a gas station, the night shift, like, and oh my God. She's like, I've had guns pulled on me. I made sure that your father was with me because he would scare the shit out of them. And I'm like, oh, hey, these people, these like kids had guns wanting alcohol. My father was, they were no match for him.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
yeah, I
I
mean-
mean, that's scary though, working like at a gas station at that time.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
specifically whichever like
It wasn't
more
like a Jane,
sleazier part of
Silent
the
Bob,
neighborhood.
or Clerks situation. I was like, you sure weren't? And it was funny because when I was telling my mom I was going over this film,
Well, it was like the Clerk situation at the end of it. If they kept that ending in when they pulled the gun out.
Yeah, I was gonna say open carry in all these states, right?
yeah. Like when I was telling my mom I was going over this film, I'm like, Kevin Smith, she's like the silent one, right? I'm like, yeah, he's from Red Bank, and she's like, oh, are all those films filmed in New Jersey? I'm like, yeah. Like,
They all take in an extended
He filmed
universe.
in the actual Quick Stop / RST video that he was working in Red Bank. Like,
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
There should be like a national like monument or whatever if it still exists.
Well, he has a comic book store called Jay and Silent Bob's Secret Stash in Red Bank that he's bought.
Yeah, that Walt Flanagan manages.
I've been to.
I think it's either him or Brian Johnson. I think both of them. If you watch, I think it's Comic Book Men, where they like, it's a show where they like.
Yeah, they have a show that
come
they
in
film out of there on AMC where they
Yeah.
like. It's like a what's that? It's like almost like what's that show where you go in and they like
Antiques Roadshow.
No, it's almost like the show where
Whoa! Why was that it? Why was that the one that you picked? What was that in my ad?
It's quite
Antiques Roadshow.
And that's the only one that I can think of too, to be honest.
No, it's like that. It's like that show where they go in and you give them like you see how much something's worth and
Antiques Roadshow.
Pawn
Stars is probably
Pawn Stars. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
that.
That's a good thing I thought of it. Pawn Stars. This one time while working overnight at a gas station in New Jersey, this dude pulled up at like 3:30 a.m. absolutely naked, looking for $10 worth of gas. Yep, sounds legit.
Yep, sounds like New Jersey. All right.
Yep.
So this is about casting Randall.
Can I tell a story about watching the documentary?
This is from that documentary.
Yeah.
This is the part of the documentary where they talk about casting Randall.
Anderson, with no intention of reading, he came in as a friend, basically, just to sort of hang out.
I remember when we heard about the auditions, it was like, whoa, there's going to be hot actor chicks there. Let's go check this out.
He was like, hey, Kev, as a joke, can I get up here and do some of this Jay stuff?
In high school, I never acted, never was in plays, never wanted to do any of that stuff.
Not in me, she says. That's what she says. So sorry. I'm a little nervous now. You made me nervous.
The whole thing is a blur, and it was probably a horrible audition.
I fucking hate jerking off when I ain't got to jerk off, you know what I mean? So I take it out, I blow a nut on her belly, and I'm out of there. Just as my uncle comes walking in, and we're so fucking close call. Hey man, I don't care if she's my cousin. I'm getting her again tonight.
And he was really, really funny. But it didn't dawn on anybody at that point that Jeff would be a good Randall.
At that point, I was going to play Randall. And then as I got close to production, I'm like, I can't memorize all this dialogue. Not an actor. What am I thinking? I'll get somebody else to do it.
And Kevin was like, you know what? I've been thinking. What do you think of Jeff Anderson for Randall?
Called him up and I was like, dude, I want to read through the script with you.
Page by page, went through, I think, the entire script and read it.
And at the end of it, I was like, I think you're it, dude. You're Randall.
And I remember trying to talk him out of it. I'm like, how much money is this movie going to cost you? And he's like, thousands of dollars. And I'm like, oh, no, I'm out. I'm not, you're not spending thousands of dollars on the hopes that I remember all these lines. It's just not going to happen.
I can't think of someone else that could have played that role as perfectly though. That guy is the perfect
Yeah,
dude
he
to
was
be that
fired.
good.
It was the right choice all along. I think that Muse was better for Jay, and he was better for Randall.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, he literally is Jason Mewes. Literally is Jay.
As himself. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It would have been weird if someone else was playing him.
in the sort of story of Kevin Smith, though, like the funny thing is, like Kevin and Jeff Anderson had a falling out subsequent to Clerks, and that's why you don't see him in any of the other films.
You see him in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. You see him in Zack and Miri Make a Porno. You see him in
Dogma, but he wasn't in Mallrats or Chasing Amy.
Yeah. Well,
He had a-
Kevin Smith seems to have a falling out with a lot of people. Like he famously had his one with like Ben Affleck and.
Mhm.
Oh,
I'm so glad. I'm so
That
glad
explains
they
a lot.
reconciled. I actually got to say that they reconciled.
Yeah. Well, he's reconciled with everybody, but he's had falling outs with a lot of different people.
No, I
He's
also
so
think,
damn talkative.
taking care of Jason Mayhews through his recovery
Substance
from
abuse,
addiction,
yeah.
that kind of made Kevin Smith really kind of grow up. I'd love to see like him do like a real drama. No, I don't. Just 6 comedies, Kevin.
I was actually going to point out this like briefly in the subject. In this, in preparation for this, I read this diary book of Kevin's that talks about his struggle with Jason Mewes, like helping Jason Mewes come through his like substance abuse. The book is called, if you're interested, My Boring Ass Life. The Diary of Kevin Smith. Literally, that's what it's called. And
No, I believe you.
The subject is called Me and My Shadow. And I think you can find it on one of the blogs as well. But
Jason
reading
Mewes,
this,
robbed him. Like literally,
he stole Smith's ATM card and like spent like $100 worth of it on heroin. It was just, but like reading that, I have to say I cried because I'm just glad that he got through it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Have you
never really
seen-
gave up on him.
Yeah.
Do y'all
It just
remember
thrills me to-
Jason Mewes did a Nike commercial in the 90s?
I don't remember. No.
Because it was a big deal when Spike Lee did his in the 90s, and it was like almost kind of the same thing, except it's Jason Mewes just being Jason Mewes.
Remember when Spike Lee recently did that Bitcoin commercial?
Yes. I'm waiting for Jason Mewes Bitcoin,
You know,
Snoochie booches.
You know, what's interesting about
Snoogan's coin.
Yes.
Well,
We're just kidding about the price. It's not real.
It is fuckable, unlike the other tokens.
Yo, I love the line that he says at the beginning of Clerks 2, where he's like, I could be like an astronaut or something. He's like, going up in space, I could be the first person to find some kind of
alien life force
and fuck
yeah.
it.
And then like Silent Bob is standing there just going, and then he's like, yeah, people walk by and go, there he goes, homeboy fucked a Martian once.
Yeah.
And Silent Bob's just like,
Have you guys ever seen, unfortunately, Freddy versus Jason?
Yes.
Yes.
I've
You
seen
know, the one
That's
stoner
advertised.
character that gets high from the Freddy caterpillar, whatever the fuck that thing was,
That's right.
is
Yeah,
based off of Jay.
yeah.
And in the Never Sleep Again documentary, they were like, yeah, we based the dude off of Jay from Jay and Silent Bob. And they had Jason Mewes. He's like, I remember my first day on set, Freddy versus Jason. It was like, wait a minute, this is not the movie I was in. Fuck off. And he leaves.
They also had them in the, I don't remember, I think it was But I Got High, But I Got High, But I Got High. And,
Like he really set like the stoner stereotype, like character trope.
Well, and also, like I mentioned as an aside when I come back from a clip, but like they serve the purpose narratively in the story as a Greek chorus, right? Which for those that are not familiar with like more traditional storytelling concepts and whatnot, is not something you expect to see in a black and white indie film about convenience store clerks and video store clerks.
Where they talk about Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly. But it works that look, what's the big thing about Silent Bob, right? Established in this film that he doesn't speak, but when he does, he says something that's incredibly like wise and like poetic and like drives the narrative in some way, and that's something that it works in this because of the complete over the top nature of like look, anything that like is a retroactively cancelable offense in this movie is absolutely done by Jay, and it's absolutely him just whatever's off the top of his head for sure. And let me assure you that it embodies the times perfectly. Yeah, the times are embodied perfectly by him saying those things. I'm not saying that's my jam. It isn't. I'm just saying that trying to apply retroactive morality to it is completely absurd, because that is how people.
I do like the insult cock smoker though. I say to people sometimes, I'm like,
good,
you fucking cock smoker. And they say it multiple times. Multiple characters say it in this. I don't know. It like channels back to me being like 12 or 13, calling people a cock smoker.
Yeah, I
You
mean there is
fucking
one f bomb that is dropped in there that is not the word fuck, and there a little bit of transphobic stuff that's in there. But again, you can't you shouldn't expect art to be
There's two
modern
F-bombs. There's one at the beginning, one at the end. Yeah.
Okay. but like, okay, so, and I get that upsets some people who love talking about it and love talking about how it's terrible because of that. But I mean, like, look, it's either you can handle it as a narrative function or you can't. I think
people still love watching Breakfast at Tiffany's despite Mickey Rooney's yellow face.
Yeah, well, and I think at the beginning when they drop that, it's just such a like a weird like surreal thing where he's like, I'd like to line up 3 guys, make like a circus seal, and then he gets he's like, I hate guys, I love women. It's just such an absurd, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh no, this is like a drugged out fucking drug.
He's just going, yeah, he's just like saying whatever's on top of his mind.
It's like the predecessor because No Homo hadn't quite came into vogue yet. That was kind of the predecessor of No Homo.
Yeah. Well, but yeah, I mean, it's not like he's a role model. It's not like, hey, everybody, be like Jay, be like this like maniac who hangs out selling drugs at the convenience store. Yeah, what a role model.
But I think that it also perfectly sets up this like dynamic where it's like, no, this guy's fucking out of his mind.
He's a maniac. Yeah.
At this point, and just to have him and the fact they don't follow him down when he does that, and he just is like this. And they have him just like at camera level is fucking hilarious.
It's a great use of framing as narrative because it's just clearly like, no, we're not with this guy. Like, and it's very clear like that this isn't this guy's story.
It's pure. It's also just pure like drugged out testosterone in a way that you're like, this is a force that's like unhinged, like untethered from reality, right? Like it's not like you're like, oh, there's homophobia or something within this.
He doesn't even have it together enough to be toxically masculine. He doesn't have his shit together enough for that. It's just
which is kind of weird because in I don't mean to bring up any of the other movies, but like it's subsequent to like 3 movies later in Dogma when Chris Rock's character is like bringing up all this stuff about Linda Fiorentino's character, and Jay goes, "Hey, what can you say about me?" And he's like, literally, you masturbate more than anyone else on the planet. And Jay's like, hey, everyone knows that. Tell something else I don't know. And he goes, when you do it, you're thinking about guys. And Silent Bob looks at him like,
the Clerks 2 like Porch Monkey bit, honestly, is the reason that it's funny is because like I think and that it works is because it's like the delusion like that people have towards their family. Like, you know what I mean? Being like, oh, like my grandma's not racist. Like she just, used a lot of these slurs. And the fact that like he can't accept that his, grandma was racist to the point where he decides he's bringing it back. When that's a word that it's never been used in any other context. Like it's literally just a racial slur. Like I think it works for that reason because I think it's very relatable to be like, oh, there's no way that like my grandma was, racist this whole time. Like it doesn't.
It's also the sequel.
My grandma's not racist.
Yeah.
My grandma just wears orange on St. Patrick's Day.
My grandma just has that. My grandma just has that swastika tattoo. That it's not a swastika. It's a starfish. It's a starfish tattoo.
Or it's a symbol like a Hindu symbol or something like that, or whatever Kat Von D used for her husband's excuse for having a Nazi tattoo on his neck.
Yeah, or a Confederate flag. Like, oh well, my grandma's not racist. She just she just believes in the South like intrinsically or something.
Heritage.
But
every white.
Yeah, I think that bit's hilarious for that reason. I don't think all of Clerks 2 works, obviously, but like that.
One of the reasons why we're not discussing it, we're discussing the original one, which is a great film, and that scene is not in there.
It was brought to like the congressional library like film registry like for significance like 3 years ago, I think.
Yeah,
it should be. I mean, it's again from sheer influence alone, it deserves to be there. There deserves to be a Criterion collection for it.
It's so influential when it comes to independent filmmaking.
Yeah,
like it's probably one of the top. It gave like because there wasn't really many independent films up until like there was like a huge explosion of like Gen X in the 90s.
Yeah. It was the 90s were a real boiling point for awesome independent, and you had folks like like Kevin Smith, and you also had like folks like Hal Hartley, and you had like a lot of
Spike Lee, Jim Jarmusch.
Spike Lee originally, Jim Jarmusch, and then like now. It's funny because like now like quote unquote indie film has been kind of mainstream because it's easier to get distribution. It's easier. I mean, look at what people think of
Mumblecore.
when people think of like an A24 movie or something, first of all, A24 is a distribution company. So like that's like one of the reasons why you think of it that way is these are movies that would be called, indie film back in the Pig would be like a perfect example. Come on. One of my favorite movies of 2021.
A24 is a distribution company that only takes movies that have slightly strange lighting in them. I noticed.
My favorite indie film is definitely The Guest. Good film.
But there's a lot of, but there's like there's so many of them, and this is like perfectly emblematic of that movement, but also kind of hit on some stuff that was mainstreamed very quickly, and in a way that hold on real quick, they that I feel like MTV style editing was like not in everything, and then suddenly it was. Like in that way, and then everyone just like, oh yeah, it's always been that way. It's like, no, it really wasn't. If you look back a couple of years, like nobody was doing this. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, another movie that I would connect something just like what you're saying to, that was an indie movie from the 90s, Blair Witch Project, that we talked about. You
talk about all the time.
Shaky cam.
Now, how much would you compare this movie though, Conan? And I'm specifically asking you because you weren't on that episode, to Slacker.
Yeah, ultimately, I think Clerks has the longer coattails and the larger influence, whereas certain things.
Matthew Film Guys is like getting to scream at you and say, "No, that's not true."
Perhaps I'll get to get my thought out before he actually jumps on stage and does that. But what I would say is that I think from a more traditional filmmaking structure, what Slacker did and what Linklater became known for, and did many times after since then, I think became something that was present in larger films sooner. So I think with Clerks, the influence is more subtle. It's almost like sabotage to a certain degree, to the point that like you'll never see him given credit by people that aren't like one of his like acolytes and super fans, or people that like actually pay attention. Whereas with Slacker, it's kind of like, oh yeah, rough around the edges, but here are all these things of reasons like why it's a good film, and here are all these other people that are now going to like take those ideas that came from this very inventive filmmaker and put those towards their own uses. And I think it's funny because like, why is that more acceptable? I don't know. There's more dick jokes in Clerks. I don't understand. Like, I don't have an answer to that.
This movie's on Slacker's coattails though, because Kevin Smith was inspired to craft this movie the way he did, literally down to the fact that each thing is a different scene, right? Like each thing is like different. Like he was inspired because he watched Slacker, and he's like talks about that a lot. Which my joke about Matthew Film Guy was that I brought up Clerks when we were talking about
and he
Slacker.
freaked out at that.
He was like, well, I don't want to talk about that.
Which is why he's not here right now. But I did want to just add on the big difference in my opinion, like the reason why I've gone back to Clerks many times and not really to Slacker, is because Slacker's written all in the same voice, and I hate that. And Clerks
I can see
has very unique voices. Like each character, even though like there's still still kind of a Kevin Smith thing to it. Like Dante and Randall are two very different characters, and when they have a conversation, you can tell that. And same thing like again, Dante and Jay, or Dante and I can't remember the women characters, but Veronica. Yeah. You can tell they're two different characters. Whereas I like
that both Veronica and why am I blanking on
because you caught it from me.
No, but so I like that. I like that they're both. I like that they're both completely different characters, and they're both written in a completely different voice. It's not like he has like one woman voice or something. And
whereas like in Slacker, a lot of people were just kind of like almost finishing each other's sentences of like like basically Linklater read like a really cool philosophy book and is just having two people talking about it in his voice.
Yeah, well, and so that's one of the distinct differences, right? Like, what?
I think that he makes that work in his later films, but I'm going to argue.
I think it's even better in Waking Life, probably.
Yeah,
absolutely. No, that's where it's
literally just that.
Off topic, but for a guy that calls himself Matthew Film Guy, it seems like he has really bad takes on films.
Coming up next episode, Matthew Film Guy. I'm not kidding about that. Yeah, Another Round is one of my favorite movies of that year. It's great, and we agree on that. That's one of the reasons I picked that one, as opposed to, you know what, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to name movies I disagree with him on, but there's someone I'm like, yeah, that's your take.
Like Black Bear would be fine to have him on for because he edited the film. So
That you'll allow him on for that one?
Yes.
That's nice of you. Yeah.
But yeah,
So magnanimous.
So Caitlin Bree and Veronica are written in very different ways, and they kind of both feel like very fleshed out characters. I think that like having Veronica like trying to get him to go to school, right? Like Dante is just, and like I know that it's kind of like I guess Mary Sue is the name of the trope that it kind of embodies. Like she's like so perfect that that like
Mary
but
Sue.
Well,
but
Mary
it
Sue is basically when you put yourself into the character, right?
I don't think so. I think
No.
Well,
They're like
doesn't really
so
matter.
perfect and annoying. I mean, you can't see yourself in Mary Sue's, but they're like so perfect. Everything works out for them. So annoying. Nothing bad ever happens to them. It's like writing yourself as like a mafia princess who gets kidnapped by this hot mobster, and there's just a lot of sex, and it's just weird. It's just weird. I'm telling you guys, weird stuff that I've read from like Mary
I think that, I think the reason the Veronica character works is that Dante is not such a loser that he's someone like Jay, obviously, that's just like like making like a circus seal, but he's just the fact that Dante has no ambition and he's kind of just self-sabotaging throughout this whole thing and is kind of just like a scumbag, and you realize that like this guy
he acts as if everything has been done to him, as if he's not the author of it.
And then that happens like later on in the scene when Dante and Randall have the fight. Randall comes back to him and says, like, you blame everybody for everything in your life, and you need to realize that it's you that's at fault, like something along those lines.
Well, yeah, Dante doesn't take responsibility for anything this whole movie.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the mantra? I'm not even supposed to be here today, right? Like, that's like
incel behavior.
Yeah, well, but I think where people don't give Kevin Smith and this film credit is the fact that he is held accountable to it, and literally called out by one of the more borderline sociopathic characters as well, which is pretty notable. That like it's a call out moment, and like I think a lot of people, even when this movie came out, it was like popular for a certain type of person to performatively and loudly not like it and explain the reasons why they didn't like it. Whether the level of interest was, 80% or 0%. Like people really were interested in telling you how much they didn't like Clerks. And the problem is that like they're all acting as if they have like, a stake and like some hallowed worldview that everyone else, if they're just presented with the facts, will certainly come around to. And for the most part, the criticisms are wrong, almost subjective.
Weird because they all end up voting for Hillary Clinton after that.
Well, yeah, I mean, eventually.
But in the same way, I think it's interesting that like Randall's the character who's most. I mean, he might be borderline sociopathy, but he's
that might be a bit much. But he's kind of like he's on the ledge,
Yeah, he kind of has a point. So.
No, but he's also the most self-aware and the most like he's like absorbed that this is his station in life, right? Like he's absorbed the fact that he's like. I'm talking about this thing you have, the inability to improve your station in life. You sit there and blame life for offering you a cruddy hand, never once taking responsibility for the way your situation is. And then when Dante is like, you're stuck in this pit too. He's like, yeah, but I've accepted that that's what you haven't accepted it. At the same time, you're too scared to actually make any kind of change in your life, but you haven't accepted that this is where you're at, and you haven't accepted and I find that kind of, it's like, very human in that moment, right? Like to have someone who's like, no, listen, I know how shitty this is. Like I know that this, but this is like where I am. Like I'm fine with that. Like you're clearly
and his coping mechanism is being a snide asshole, and he's very good at it. And he finds enjoyment out of being a snide asshole, and he's staggeringly effective at it as well.
That's what Randall gets canceled for in the end. Selling
cigarettes.
Selling I didn't sell any cigarettes to any kids, I swear.
Man, the things I remember in New Jersey's, the ice cream man had the candy gummy cigarettes. Those were okay to sell to kids.
Oh. Yeah, I remember those.
Yeah, those were big in Georgia.
You know that Randall would have like somehow gotten famous for like his I don't know, one of his like insane rants or something gone viral and then been like one of those like.
Can you imagine him on Twitter? He'd have like a following of like 90,000 people.
What's going on, Joe Rogan?
And be getting banned every day.
Ban evading.
No.
But yeah, I mean, another thing, it goes, all right, if you hate this job and the people and the fact you have to come in on your day off, why don't you just quit? And he goes, like, it's that easy. And it's like, it is that easy. You're literally working at like a convenience store. Like, just quit, find another job. And I like that he goes, what's stopping you? He's like, there are other jobs. They pay better money. You're bound to be qualified for at least one of them. So what's stopping you? And it's like, yeah, dude, like this is not some great, existential problem that you have where you're stuck in the situation and it's almost like a purgatory, right? Like you're stuck in the situation you can never really leave. Like, no, you could just say, you know what, fuck you, I'm out of here. And I'm gonna go find something else, go to college, and it's but I mean the moment where kind of Dante accepts for himself or uses as an excuse for himself, I guess, that he's just he has an inability to change things, and he has the shit or get off the pot.
Mentality.
Is like, Jesus Christ, dude, you're fucking pathetic.
And he was only 22 in this film. So he was quite young. He could have decided to go to school at such a young age, because I don't mean to bring it around to the second one, but this one in the second one, they're of course in their 30s and they're still working minimum wage.
But the thing is though, is there were opportunities for people who were 22 in the past,
Right.
for their parents who wanted to work. But those factories got closed down in the 70s and mostly in the 80s. You have this left behind generation of people, and that's actually the beginnings of honestly that's the core of the Trump supporter right there. The Gen Xers who got left behind.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. I think that it is that kind of moment in time, but at the same time, there is college available as an alternative, right? Like community college and stuff.
Right.
There is.
Yeah, but then it's still expensive.
Hey, so you
as
can come
hell.
out with with a graphic arts degree, great.
Kevin Smith went to. I think he went to
contingent with 2,000 other applicants.
And you don't have an impressive resume, and you're gonna have all this debt too, and still probably working at the.
Yeah, it's not anecdotal for us. We were there. It was and that's what's interesting is this is a moment in time that really doesn't get captured that often. And that's why it's kind of important for a number of reasons. Is the fact that
I was gonna say it kind of applies to all generations as well nowadays.
It does, but this is
starting out,
specifically the Generation X experience and the tail end of Generation X, which is where both I and Andy are at, where we're right at the tail end. They call it Generation Oregon Trail when they bother to think of us at all, which is almost never.
Yeah, which you can actually see the divide too between Jay and Dante. That's a really good dichotomy of Jay takes on the trappings of what people think of Generation X. But most of Generation X is more like Dante, really kind of square, watches way too many Disney movies, and grew up to be angry Trump voters.
Terminally disappointed, and well, some of them do. Not all of them. I mean, the thing is,
I was gonna say, although Brian O'Halloran himself is not a Trump supporter.
And neither are most of Generation X. But by the same token, there was a change. There was a change that Generation X was the first generation who did worse than the generation before them. Thank you, boomers. And that was in the air, and it's in there. It manifests in different ways, some of which were cloying and obnoxious, and some of which were very poignant. And independent filmmaking is at this time is one of the best places you can actually get a barometer for what it actually was like. And I say that as someone that hey, whatever. I figured out my own path, but a lot of friends I have didn't, and they just kind of drifted around for a while. And and that story is just, there's no telling of that now, because you can't even get Generation X mentioned in a conversation about generations, period. Let alone, you want to talk about millennials being kept away from power? Get in line, son. Seriously, Generation X, who do we have? Anthony Weiner? Who the fuck do we have that ever was remotely close to power?
Beto O'Rourke.
Yeah, exactly.
He's the embodiment of that hacker skateboarder Gen X culture. That
Also, what's his name from Martin O'Malley?
Martin O'Malley. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, there you go. That was our hope.
There from The Wire.
Anyway, wonder why we're so cynical, all right?
Do you want to do? I think that the majority of stuff we're going to get into in the after party. I feel like this conversation is kind of going all over the place. So do you want to do the Letterboxd one-liners?
Forrest, I would love to. So of course, Letterboxd is a place for film. It's a place where film lovers get to talk at, with, and to each other about the films they love. the films they didn't love, the films they wanted to shout quotes back to. And of course, all this is so many of them were literally just that, dude.
And the films they wanted to fuck.
The films that they're weirdly thirsty for, yeah. Of course, these are all best expressed not as a treatise, an essay, a novella, but in the short, concise, sort of tight 5 format. No Siskel's, no Eberts, bottom up democracy. Everyone gets to have their say. These are the letterbox one-liners for Clerks. Roll them. Science fiction imagines a world in which vast collections of film and television can be accessed from a single source, regardless of their original distributor or current rights holder.
The tail end of the video store industry.
It's true, man. It's true. Like, and honestly, I was thinking about this the other day. I was like looking around to I don't remember what it was, and it was like, which one is that one on? Ugh.
3 stars.
When I was a kid, we had we had Blockbuster in town, right? But then we also had one street down. We had New York Video Exchange, which was the more you could find whatever there, and there was section that had kind of porn stuff that you could go into the back, the 18 and up stuff.
The back way, yeah.
But all throughout it had it had stuff that Blockbuster definitely wouldn't have. So it was that was the tail end of being able to rent stuff at the video store.
It was like the dirt mall, you could say.
As someone who used to work retail and get yelled at by Karens every single day, I feel so seen. It's true. That is true.
Yeah.
Say on, Haley.
You got to rip into the occasional customer, every now and then.
Are you open?
Hey, are you open?
Yeah, everybody asks me, if you ever work retail, you get that question a lot.
The sign, I assure you, we're open.
I also love when he goes, it's 4:00 on a Saturday. No one ever comes in at 4:00 on a Saturday, and they cut to the store, and there's 5 people just banging.
Yeah, banging on the funeral scene. Yeah.
True story. I used to work at a Radio Shack, and I'm standing just outside underneath the sign, and this woman comes up to me and she goes, "Excuse me, y'all know where the Radio Shack is?" I'm like, "You found us." And she just gives me this funny look, takes 3 steps back, looks up, and she's like, "You don't think I've been smoking crack now, don't you?"
Well, I didn't before, but now that you mentioned it.
You have some?
My love for you is like a truck berserker. Would you like some making fuck berserker?
And
did he just say making fuck?
I made sure to put those back to back. You didn't have them back.
I forgot to mention that. Yeah.
So good.
I worked 9 years in a video store and 6 years in a record store, and I can safely say that this is the most accurate movie ever made.
And I like that they're combined. It's the the quick stop and then the RST video as combined. I mean, which is a real thing, but it's funny that they're two different. They're 2 chains that you always find them together.
Surprised it didn't got a Wawa.
Now you just have a Subway and a gas station combined. You don't have.
I'm in Massachusetts. We got Dunkin' Donuts at our gas stations.
Yeah,
well, do.
Where I grew up in Midwestern Missouri, there used to be a KFC and Taco Bell combined.
Oh, KFC Taco Bell. I remember.
Store, yeah.
Also,
when those started showing up, I remember that.
We're at the Pizza Hut. We're at the Taco Bell. We're at the combination Pizza Hut and Taco Bell.
There you go.
Exactly.
Combination restaurant.
My dad memorized Berserker and sung it to me, so this movie is simply art.
My love for you is like a truck berserker.
That part always makes me laugh every time.
I like when he's singing to fucking Snowball and he's like, would you like to suck my cock berserk? He goes, that's beautiful, man.
Bunch of savages in this town.
Didn't even talk about the gum being shoved into the locks. It's just
yeah.
And the shoe polish. That bit walks so the Andrew Garfield and Under the Silver Lake could run with the
hey. There you go. Cute cat. What's his name? Annoying customer. Fucking dickhead.
Yeah.
I think in the comics they actually did reveal it is named Annoying Customer.
There you go.
That's not as funny.
The best thing this movie does is call out its main character as the creator of his own conflicts several times, showing an ample amount of self-awareness that most movies would lack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, but he's just not the kind of person that can, open the potty lid so he can shit comfortably, you know?
Smoke 2 blunts and down some hot tamales before watching this. Best movie I've ever seen. Vibed with it on an existential level.
Oh yeah,
I like that.
I like that it manages to do that though without being like a stoner movie. Like Kevin Smith's later stuff. Like it's stoner fare. It's like, yo, you're gonna get high and watch this. I like that this movie manages to do that kind of vibe without like kind of intrinsically having its characters be like, we're so high right now. Except for Jay and Silent Bob.
Yeah.
But
it's interesting because like in decade after this film and his later films, like Kevin Smith became a stoner in real life. That's like the
he didn't
somewhat
smoke.
alternate
He didn't
irony.
smoke until later on.
Yeah.
Those are the Letterboxd one-liners for the movie Clerks. You, of course, can find Moving Extravaganza on Letterboxd. That's Forrest over there.
Berserker.
You see, I'm turning this way.
It's really hard, man. I still don't have it down. I, of course, am Conan Neutron. You can find me all over Letterboxd. I've just watched the Beavis and Butthead. Was it Do the Universe? I just watched that last. Pretty good, funny. It's exactly what you think it's going to be. You know?
Is the animation good?
Yes, it was. J. Andrew World. J. Andrew World over there is watching apparently all the Resident Evils. He's got that going for him.
I just finished them, and I wish I never started.
I know the feeling.
So he's working through all the stuff, so you don't have to. So go find him on there as well. I'm Kristina, down over yonder. Silent Chris.
I can't turn this way, but I can't. I'm sorry.
Then you look like you're doing the Batusi, you know. So it's like
there you go.
She's still threatening to do the Johnny Depp thing. You know, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see about follow up. Silent Chris.
Though I'd still recommend we do Ed Wood or Sweeney Todd.
Yeah, I'd like to do Ed Wood.
It would be good.
Ed Wood would be phenomenal.
And I believe John Ross.
I just saw Bob's Burger film too, by the way.
I've seen the TikToks.
This one.
John Ross is now on Letterboxd as well. He needs some friends, so go friend him on there. I think you're the same as you are on everything else, right? You're just like John Ross 1992 from Brent. So there you go.
Yeah, Clerks was my first film I ever reviewed, and I actually said this one, Reality Bites and Empire Records were like that same kind of similar feeling of people in the 90s.
Yeah, and I would love to do a
people were in the 90s. They were
well, like the fact is, like I also want to point out, like in the Snowball Effect documentary, when they did like the final Sun Game, in the 10th anniversary
blowjob thing, Sullivan made it up.
Yeah. In the final Sundance film festival in '94, like the final screening, this film Clerks and Reality Bites were seen back to back. So that was really something interesting that I had not noticed before. I was like, wow.
So somebody remind me in the after party to mention how much Empire Records is not like working at Tower Records, which it's ostensibly based on, because I would talk about that at length. But I will wait for the after party for that.
By the way, I like that you're. I just noticed you're sure. I assure you were open is right above the part of
the actual. I assure you were open. Yeah. J. Andrew Snooch's World, please take it away with the plugs.
All right. Once again, I'm doing this off the top of my head because my iPad is broken, but tomorrow that shall be fixed. Woohoo! But we have.
Thank you for the update.
Yes, yeah. No, it's a big thing. You know, people are worried about it. More and more people are tweeting.
People are talking about it more and more. Yeah,
yeah.
Especially on this show, especially you.
Yeah, but mostly me. Anyways, if you're enjoying the show right now on Twitch, please, if you can't, if you are of a means, please subscribe. If you happen to have a Amazon Prime account, you can subscribe for free, and that really does help us out. If you're watching us over on the YouTubes, hit like, subscribe, comment, and the big ask: watch this video to the end because that helps other film fans, film, movie people,
cinephiles.
Cinephiles, yeah.
I was going to say aficionados, but
Yeah, yeah.
We're also
Go to
doing a
yours?
YouTube subscription drive, right? And it's like up to
Yes.
700 something. So
Yeah, we're at
doing
like
okay.
7. I think we're at 720. And we jumped up, right? We jumped up from 580 to 715 yesterday, and now I think we're up to like 720 or 719.
Get
So
that
we need
monetization.
to get monetized. So which means that we might have to stop playing the trailers, but we'll figure that out. We need to get monetized, so we need to get to 1,000. If we can get to 1,000, I will fillet everybody in the subscribers. I'll line 3 subscribers up and it's like a circus seal.
We have 37 subscribers.
720 in a row?
I hate guys. I love subscribers.
What about people that subscribe with multiple accounts? You know what? Never mind. I don't want to know. It's fine. Andy,
line all accounts up and make like a circus seal.
But we have a Patreon if you want to actually help us out there.
If this is the content you crave, boy, do we have you handled.
Yeah, because on Patreon you get access to all of our past after parties and see all the embarrassing things that I have said. That I will continue to say, and I will not stop saying.
Shit stuff that Forrest says during the main show.
The embarrassment will continue until morale improves.
Yes.
Until subscribers improve, to be honest. I mean, I don't know.
But yeah, we do give you the after parties for free live, but once they're live and you missed it, too late, smooches.
We live in a society.
Too late, snoogans at that point, you know.
Too late, snoogans. But yeah, but they live forever on the Patreon.
Snoogans.
There we go.
After party forever. After party forever. The delay really kills us with this. We'll work on it.
Yeah, we'll get it.
I'll count us in.
Anyways,
a 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
So Conan, who do you have coming up this week on Patronic Reversal?
Stefan Edgerton of The Descendants, All, Flag, living legend of punk rock.
Wow, that is a really
No
impressive.
big deal.
Yeah, MBD. What was it last week? I answered questions. That was the show. Oh yeah, Andy knows he was there.
Yeah.
Questions too. No, I think I made statements. I didn't as much ask questions.
Yeah.
Super helpful. Yeah. I appreciate that.
But I actually did ask questions.
You did.
And I asked some good questions.
It was more enjoyable than I expected it to. When I was sort of like, hey, this is a roll of the dice. Let's see how this goes. But it was good. And I was hoping it wouldn't just have been 2 hours of people asking, you should have so and so on. When are you going to have so and so on? Have you considered getting so and so on? Where it's like, yes, no, maybe, But yeah, a little bit of that was mostly interesting.
But yeah, there was a lot of good questions, and not just mine.
But we're back to the normal format here. There's a bunch of good stuff coming up. So while you're subscribing to MNE, because I'm too busy to see Moving Extravaganza, then subscribe to Platonic Reversal as well if you don't already. Thank you.
Absolutely. And you got your new music project?
Yeah, Action Chief. So actionchief.bandcamp.com. This has actually been somewhat of a longer running concern, but we're finally releasing the record now. So yeah, go get it. It's only on Bandcamp right now. It'll be on all the rest of the stuff later this month. It's different. It sounds different than Conan Neutron: The Secret Friends. I just shredded in this one, so that's fun. But I think it's actually the same people that are in like one of the lineups of Conan Neutron: The Secret Friends. I think everyone but Joe Cannon has been on this show because Tony and JB have both been on this show.
Yeah.
So. Oh, nice. And
we decided Erica is an honorary chief, though, even though she doesn't play in it. She's an honorary chief. Thank you. Really important to get that there.
True.
First time honorary chief hasn't come with a racist football connotation.
Or the preemptive Elizabeth Warren joke. Yes. Anyway.
And you also have a Patreon that people should subscribe to if they get episodes of Platonic Reversal early.
That's true. That is true.
Everything I said is true.
Everything you said in this is true.
The truth.
Yes. And Kristina also has a Patreon and a Twitch show, which she does like weekend nights, I think I don't know.
Weekend nights, overnight. I'm I need my days back, so I just sleep for a few hours during the day, and I get to do stuff. But I'm gonna be doing my updated Wanda cosplay because I got a better Scarlet Witch outfit and a wig that's not like an afro or of any kind or too like thick and just it was all over my face. I hated it. Also, Nina Turner followed me on Twitter. Woohoo!
Yo, since you said preemptive Elizabeth Warren joke, I just remembered this. Somebody reminded me this exists today. Hold on.
I rethink that all the time, Michael.
Because you're very, very special people. You were here long before any of us were here. Although we have a representative in Congress who they say was here a long time ago.
Amazing.
Or Pocahontas. But you know what? I like you. And I
just like
what the hell?
But you know what?
Buried Elon Musk today.
You know what? I like you.
Those poor guys are just like, what the entire fuck is happening right now?
God.
I've always suffered enough.
Am I gonna get this medal, or like, you know, am I gonna live long enough to get this? Like, I'm.
Do I have to agree with whatever's in his syphilitic brain right now to get this reward?
Wait, this is how my ancestors got smallpox, right?
You know, honestly, if Elon Musk responds to Trump's like post, he'd be like, "Well, I was gonna consider giving you back your Twitter, but after what you said to me, nah."
I'm keeping the medal.
This is the today was the first shot fired in the, and we'll talk about this in the after party, I'm sure, but it's the first shot.
For the love of fuck, can we let Andy finish the plugs? Thank you.
Yeah, because
I'm like the
Kristina, and I forgot where I was at. We were
You're at John now.
Yeah, John has stuff. Like he has a show that occasionally airs.
Take that,
Yeah.
Stevie.
It's TGRS on Twitch. Episode 22 is coming up in a couple weeks. So if you like this show, please go like and subscribe on Twitch.
If you like this show, that's a different show entirely.
Well,
Do it anyway.
Who do you have coming up
I
on
gotta
the
do
show,
my-
or is it?
There's
just
less
ads?
people.
Well, it's just gonna be a Twitch stream.
Okay.
It's just gonna be a regular Twitch stream.
Oh, okay.
I
So
don't
just
know
gonna
yet.
talk about the
What
news?
manner of content is on the John Ross shows these days?
You're hanging
it's-
brain. You're hanging.
It's a hanging brain related
Yeah.
content. That's a weird pivot.
It's basically news, politics, pop culture from a left-wing, democratic, socialist, progressive point of view. It's like the Majority Report on caffeine. That's a bad joke. That's a bad joke.
I can't believe Sam Sear described me as a nasty gal today.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, wow.
Oh, did he?
Allegedly, but we got good old Zeke Gonzalez clipping the show for us.
Sure, there's a lot of stuff that happens on the internet.
Yeah, I've been like gone all day, so I kind of missed a lot of the drama. But I think those are the plugs.
Yeah, I want to play one more clip before we go to whatever. This is from that documentary again, but this is all of the cameos that they had.
We should start mentioning, we're also on Reddit. We never mentioned that, but like a bunch of the new subscribers are actually from Reddit. So we should mention there's a Reddit for Movie Extravaganza.
Oh, cool.
And people should join that channel.
And we have a
I'm
Twitter
too
group,
busy trying to
too.
learn how to build a bomb on Reddit. So
Yeah, if you're not too busy getting radicalized.
Oh boy.
But yeah, we have a Twitter
A lot of
group
the
as well
people
if you
that
want to jump in on that, you know.
A lot of the
We will
people
let
that he
you.
cast were people that he knew and friends. The one that stands out was my big cameo in the film.
Hey, congratulations. I saw the announcement in today's paper.
That's why I manually masturbate caged animals for artificial insemination.
The women that go through every gallon of milk. My girlfriend sucked 37 dicks.
In a row?
I mentioned this engagement. That's why I'm thinking maybe it's a misprint. There was also a lot of people who were cast that just as like extras who just didn't show up.
Having people play multiple roles.
Ooh, Navy SEALs. Do you sell hubcaps for 72 Pinto hatchback? Ooh, mini truck amazing. Do you have that one with that guy who was in the movie that was out last year?
I don't know. Since I was about 13.
Ed Habstack plays hockey on the roof with the long hair. So who's gonna pay for these Gatorades?
What do you care, you shoe polish smelling motherfucker?
I also played the woman that came out of the funeral home. I put on one of my mom's dresses. Could barely get the thing on. That's why my arms were like a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
I was supposed to play one role in Clerks, which was the the hockey player.
How about covering the point? Man, you suck.
Then early on in the shoot, I had my beard, Willem Black. On the spot, we sort of transformed him into somebody who was like sort of brain dead.
That was Snowball.
Why do you call him that?
And so we decided I could shave my beard and play the other role.
I'll whip your ass any day, pal.
And then you talk to yourself down below, which was our only special effect in the movie, Scott talking to Scott.
Yeah, you open. No!
I remember, like, as we were filming, Walt Flanagan is in like every scene as every customer.
He had written the Berserker scene for me, and when I read it, I was like, I can't do it. There's no way I'm gonna be able to sing. There's no way I'll be able to do it. I'm just not that guy. I said, I'll go help you behind the scenes. I'll come, I'll hang out and everything, but I'm really not interested in trying to act because I don't think I can do it.
Walt became our go-to guy. There were a lot of people we cast in roles that Walt wound up playing that just didn't show up.
It just became the running joke. Well, we'll let you do it.
Quick, put on this hat, put on this wig.
Pack of cigarettes?
This has been going on for 20 minutes now.
Cute cat. What's its name? Annoying customer. Fucking dickhead. Using filthy language in front of the customers. You both should be fired.
That one was more the hardest one because there was really lines you had to do, and I was really nervous to do that one.
Well, if you think that's offensive, check this out. I think you can see her kidneys.
If you plan to shoplift, let us know. Amazing.
Cute cat. What's his name? Annoying customer. Fucking dickhead.
That's the kind of, we talk a lot about like Rat-a-tat and how like David Mamet like does it well before he got all neoconned out, and how Sorkin is sort of accredited for it and he does like one kind of it like it for his thing, but like Kevin Smith does good Rat-a-tat, man. Like it's clever.
Yeah. Also, I think having Walt Flanagan play every role kind of gives it almost like a proto South Park kind of vibe, where it's like everybody in this town kind of has the same vibes. Because
They all kind of look the same. They all have the same, inane, annoyances.
everybody's either Scott Mosier or him, or like everyone's got a different thing about them.
I actually thought it was like intentional. Like first time I saw it, I was like, "Oh, that's brilliant!" Because I was just starting to get into like, Bergman and like all this other like films. I was like, "Oh, well, that's really good."
This
I was
is
like,
a
"Oh no,
cool thing.
he's going to get enough friends to come out for free on a Saturday to film stuff." So, which
Man,
now
I wish I had a cool indie director friend who needed me for roles.
I do, sort of.
I mean, I've shown up on the set of like 5 or 6, either as director or camera or like audio or something, because I did that a lot. I haven't done it as much since COVID, but like I've just kind of
Ron Pertez made a bunch of movies. Erica does a lot of second unit stuff for like TV. She's actually like somewhat close to you, at least too. I had a public access show way back when. I've directed or like been like AD sort of cinematographer for a few music videos too. So, I mean, it's easier now. Anyone can do that stuff. Yeah.
I mean, I'm friends with people who work in like the adult film industry. I'm like, hey, if I ever come by, I would love to know what it's like working on a set. Does anyone need their makeup done?
Hey, are you open?
I love that. Can I just say? I know we're trying to close down here, but I love the I forgot all about the character when they're playing the hockey on the roof. Amazing, first of all, incredible scene. And then there's a guy, hey, like when you open, then he's like, you suck. He starts critiquing them. He starts critiquing the playing, and then he ends up like
don't pass to this guy.
Like he just like lingers and then like gets involved. Like that's such a great like I love that section of the film so much because it's just so like surreal, but also the kind of thing that actually happens in that environment. So yeah, well, it's important to yell at people.
To close this out, could I just quote the last Silent Bob thing?
Well, I think we're gonna do final thoughts and stuff, right?
Yeah, we're gonna. That could be your final thought.
There you go.
So, John, you got some final thoughts? Let's hear them.
Sure. There's a million fine-looking people, women in the world, but they all don't bring you lasagna at work. Most of them just cheat on you.
True that.
Greek chorus dispensing that
truer
wisdom.
line was never spoken. Kristina.
As someone who's from New Jersey and tries to hang on to whatever's left that I have, even though I moved down to South Carolina when I was 4, I always found myself loving Kevin Smith and everything that he does, especially considering that he really knows like the heart of like Central Jersey. and what it represents. And like I feel like Clerks does actually an excellent job of kind of representing like that era of like in central New Jersey and Gen X and whatnot. Sequels, yeah, but again, this is a classic. This is like a classic staple when it comes to indie filmmaking. And we know a lot of people have been inspired by this film, try to even like replicate it in one way or the other. So I highly recommend this film. A lot, you know, it's been how many years? It's been, oh my God. It's been,
94 or so.
27 years.
Yeah.
Sounds
Like
about
20
right.
years?
That's
Oh,
when I'm.
man.
Yeah, because that's
This film
that's
came
when I
out
was
after
born.
I was a year old, but yeah, I highly recommend this film. And more people, like if I taught a film class, we'd be watching Clerks.
That's right, Matthew, film guy. Suck it. Come on next week, Matthew, film guy. It's actually true that time too. Yeah. I do that joke every time, and this time it's actually true. I love it.
Conan, let's hear those final thoughts. Let's
Well,
get
first
them
of
in
all,
here.
I assure you, we're open. No, I mean this is. I'm going to echo a lot of what Kristina said. Like this is a modern cinema classic. It's almost perfectly emblematic of Generation X for all the reasons that are articulated. And I think some of the dialogue is fairly hilariously stilted. But if you look at the fact they have a lot of non-actors and people that are just like there to help, it totally makes sense. You have a cast of almost total neophytes. What exactly did you expect? Kierkegaard? The film works. It's an indie film that made a huge splash, was incredibly influential in ways that are not just palpable, but noticeable, even if like their creator rarely gets actual credit for them, which is still kind of weird and bizarre. And, what's the characters are quirky. The dialogue, as we've evidenced, is insanely quotable, and it's absolutely in the zeitgeist of its time. So I think it's either rated accurately or somehow slightly underrated in my book.
Yeah, Andy.
I was thinking a lot about Shin Suzuki while watching this. Like how he spent all that time breaking down Kurosawa and like his choice of colors, and then we watched Suzuki. And just like, nah, he just did whatever, and a lot of this was just, Kevin Smith, just doing whatever. But somehow like Tokyo Drifter, this transcended the genre and transcended what he was trying to do, and somehow created this massive piece of art. Because like the black and white film was probably chosen not by not because it is reminiscent of film, video cameras and like gas stations. But just probably because it was the cheapest stuff he could find.
Yeah, no, they did it because it was a lot more expensive to shoot in color.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And so like, and it's great because sometimes like some of your best creative choices can come from accidents, and I just love creative confluence like that. And just one kind of addendum to the whole Dante probably a Trump supporter thing. I think Dante's the Dante generation. Was the first to kind of really feel that urge that like created both like the Bernie Sanders movement and the Trump movement, and like that's kind of what they both share. And so when I'm kind of joking around that he's a Trump supporter, I just happen to know a lot of guys from college that are just like Dante and supported Trump. So that's but they're probably just equally numbered guys from. Who didn't go to my college.
Randall's a libertarian.
But just for the weed, really. Yeah. Oh, yeah, clearly. Yeah, I didn't even think about that.
So I want a line that I always like in this movie that never gets quoted is he goes, when Randall goes, "What, fucking the dead guy? She'll get over fucking the dead guy. My mom's been fucking the dead guy for years. I call him dad." But that's not what I wanted to use. This is a classic fucking line. What I wanted to say, though, for my final thoughts, noinge, noinge, noinge. Smoking weed, doing coke, drinking beers. Pack of wraps, my good man. Time to sit back, kick back, drink some beer, and smoke some weed.